tree, motherfuckers. Turn round, timber chain, what we caught. Another tree, motherfucker, need to get cut. Every little hit make my armor react. If you see my saws coming, then you best get back. You ain't with me, then you're with the trees. Double fucking chop 'em, cut you at your knees. Spruces all falling, blades cut right through 'em. When I knock one down, I never plant a new one.
Doesn't mean you're a bad man. Cut down trees. They're all brown and gross and covered in leaves. We know him as legend, we've seen his claw. We just call him the timber saw.
Timber saw, gonna get my strut on. You look like a charge on my new bloodstone. Riz rack, I'm a swirling threat. Gonna cut you like pines with my whirling death.
Doesn't mean you're a bad man, you cut down trees. They're all brown and gross and covered in leaves. We know him as legend, we've seen his claw. We just call him the timber saw.
Timber saw.
The timber saw.
Cutting down all you tree motherfuckers.
We know him as legend, we've seen his claw. We just call him the timber saw.
Hey everybody, so this is kind of a weird double release day. This episode's going to be kind of a short one. I just wanted to, I guess, highlight some of my favorite moments from doing this show over the years. And a big highlight for me, especially when I realized after I recorded the final episode with Easy Marchese, which will be next up in your feed, or this is probably popping up right before it in your feed. But as I was talking about it with him, I realized, I want to go back and I want to hear some of those old intros, and I want to just reminisce a little bit and get a little nostalgic. And so I did a little bit of that this evening, and just thought I'd share a couple of my favorite ones here with you guys. I opened up with the Timbersaw song. That all came about because we got our Audio Blocks license, and we were able to access just a huge plethora of music. And there were a ton of, obviously great hip hop tracks to be done. And I started imagining, we chatting with Roland, and it was like, we were talking about every hero doing that like standard hip hop thing where they basically brag about how awesome they are. And Timbersaw was one of those that like first popped to mind. It was one of the first like hip hop type intros that we ever did with our original music numbers. And this I don't know. It's always been one of my favorites. I don't know. It just something about it just tickles me just right. Even still going back and listening to it. The new charge, or you look like a charge on my new Bloodstone line. And cutting one down and never planting a new one. Those, I don't know why, those lines just, they hit me just right every time. This next one is a personal favorite of mine, just because of what happened while we were recording it. As those of you who listened with us from the very get-go, very beginning, we used to do, a news spoof on every 4 minutes, every 4 minute, because, that was a day cycle, right? Every day on the hour. So we did a news spoof called Last Hit News, and one of the running gags on Last Hit News was as we've done the show, the price of teleportation scrolls in Dota 2 has dropped every patch, it seems like. And one of the running gags was that on Last Hit News was that they were being imported from China, and they were actually shoddy teleportation scrolls. There's a slight reference to that at the end, but what really, this may not be funny to anybody else, but there was a huge section. We actually wrote all of Roland's lines, all of his like cheesy, "Will Meepo poof away from justice this time?" and he's in a net of controversy. We wrote all that like really bad, newscaster pun stuff for him. And then Wazoo and I actually ad-libbed the crossfire section between the two opposing sides, trying to mimic, that classic news television interaction. And at one point, Wazoo, you'll hear him in there. You'll hear him get really exasperated and go. And the reason that makes me laugh every time is because I was there, and he was super frustrated because I had gone a direction that we hadn't really previously discussed before, and we were completely ad-libbing everything, and so I caught him completely off guard. And he was so terribly frustrated with me because we'd actually done like a couple of takes of this before, and they were all going really well, but Roland kept jumping in because we told him, we were like, all right, let us go for a little bit so we can hit some of the gags, and but then come in and cut us off with the and move on to the next segment about the teleportation scroll industry. And Roland had been coming in and cutting us off, and they were really great takes, and we were both completely ticked that he kept cutting us off too early. We're like, no, you got to let us go a little bit longer. You got to let us go a little bit longer. And this time around, I threw a big curveball at Wazoo, and he, I could see the outrage on his face because he was already so frustrated that we were doing a third take of this anyway. But yeah, so here's my personal favorite on the last hit news.
You're listening to Last Hit News on the DotP network.
Hello and welcome to Last Hit News. I'm your host, Roland. Tonight, a Meepo under fire. Here to discuss the Meepo's latest polygamy controversy. The Defense of Marriage Council President, the Grand Wazoo.
Good evening, Roland.
And ACLU attorney representing Mr. Meepo, Barrister Cyphus.
Hello and thanks for having me.
Meepo has been caught in a net of controversy after Utah state authorities arrested him last week on 4 counts of polygamy. Meepo's argument is that each of his 5 wives is in fact only married to one individual Meepo. Will this help him poof away from a guilty verdict?
I really don't think it will, Roland. I think an individual is defined as someone who makes their own autonomous choices. Looking at Meepo, this clearly isn't the case. It's they're all.
I disagree.
They're all.
I
Excuse
disagree.
me. Can I finish my point, sir? They're all more or less an extension of Meepo Prime's behavior.
Each of those Meepos can take their own individual
Is that
actions.
right? Do they have individual
Yes.
names?
Yes, they do. I, in fact, represent Meepo Prime. The other Meepos have their own individual representation in this case. We are currently sending forth a request to the judge to have these charges split across 4 separate counts of polygamy, charging the 4 individual Meepos, and not my client, Meepo Prime.
And you're saying Meepo Prime does not associate with the other Meepos, or
He has an employee-employer relationship with them.
I find that hard to believe, sir, and I could show you, could we bring up some pictures on the teleprompter here of Meepo associating with all these men and their wives often, even outside of the battle arena, sir.
Those photos were taken at a family party where the Meepo Prime invited the other Meepos to attend, and they have been taken drastically out of context. There's nothing.
Well, obviously
there's
you get
nothing
paid well,
obscene
sir.
going
Obviously
on in
you get
these
paid
photos.
well. Obviously you get paid
I am an
well, sir.
ACLU attorney. I represent.
I would like to make a point of tax issues here on the air. Why I have everyone's.
Of course.
Of course, we'll have the tax issues. If you look at the other Meepos besides Meepo Prime, no one has paid United States taxes
That is
since
because
2005.
the additional
Since the Meepos
Meepos
started actually making money. What is with this? No
Meepo,
individual tax
Meepo
numbers.
Beta through Meepo Echo.
Gentlemen, I'm afraid we have to break for our next segment. Very interesting arguments indeed. Next, the teleportation scroll. Scandals continue. The U.S. government has refused to release the documents concerning tariff arrangements with the Chinese government concerning the importation of said scrolls from China. The American people want to know, where is their money going? I'm Roland with your On the 4 Minute, every 4 minute, last hit news.
All right. So this next one is maybe a little embarrassing, but I'll put it in just because of the sheer amount of work that went into it, and I did all the voices for it, so I was at least semi proud of that. The going back and listening to it, it's somewhat embarrassing, but it I don't know. It's fun to listen to. It's fun to hear. Just because I remember sitting and making the crowd noises with Roland for, like an hour and a half probably, because we just had to do take after take after take and basically lace all of those different. We were every member in the audience that you're hearing there, with only a few like minor support from other sources, from like sound effect sources that we could locate because we couldn't really find anything that we had license or access to. But yeah, so this is our Jerry Springer spoof, Cyphus Springer.
Thank you. Thank you. Today's story, one of the strangest stories we've ever had as a story in the 15 years of doing stories that we have done on this show. I'm gay is something that's usually very difficult to tell your parents. But today, I'm gay and in love with a diacide creep. I'm Cyphus Springer. Let's take a peek at what's to come. And your boyfriend lives where? On the diacide.
Oh my God, we've always been a Radiant Side family.
Is this hard for you to take?
Of course it is. He was always such a good boy.
And your mother doesn't know you're gay? No, sir. No, not at all. Are you ready to tell her about that and your diacide lover?
Jesus. God. This next one I put through on there because I always think about this one. I don't know why. I think about it all the time when I'm playing Dota in particular. And I start running out of mana. I always think of this knockoff Crystal Maiden Clarity commercial that we did, where we were trying to we had just watched I think it was a Coors commercial, and we were like, man, we really need that. There's something we're not doing. We're not doing ads. We're not doing advertisements. That's the wave of the future for intros. I think maybe we did 3.
Mana. It keeps us in our lanes. It keeps us safe. It heals us. It gets us back to the fountain with our teammates. But sometimes, mana runs out. And that's why here at Crystal Maiden Clarity, we aim to provide just what you need. Mana regeneration. In lane, on time. And we believe that your mana should come from the chilly peaks and cool streams of Ice Rack. Don't you?
And let's see, this one, another entry in the ad runs. This one was in there simply because the last little bit we were mimicking one of the antidepressant commercials we had recently seen. Just because you always see those, you see those prescription ad commercials and they're always terrible. You know, there's always a bazillion side effects, and so we decided to do one for prescription salves. And the last bit, the speed reading of all of the potential side effects was brutal and required like 3 or 4 takes along the way. But I still really like this particular ad.
You know when you've been injured. You may feel afraid, worried, and anxious. Whatever you do, you feel vulnerable and can't lane the way you once could. Things just don't feel like they used to. These are some symptoms of being injured in lane, a serious medical condition affecting over 9 million Dota players worldwide. While the causes may differ, the condition may be related to damage sustained from enemy creeps or even aggressive enemy heroes. But there's hope. You shouldn't have to feel that way anymore. Prescription salves can offer hit point regeneration in lane, getting you back to maximum HP and restoring your confidence in lane. If you suffer from being injured in lane during the laning phase, consult your local support about prescription salves. Prescription salves are not for everyone. Heroes currently in combat should not use healing salves as their full regeneration effects can easily be broken by sustaining additional injuries in lane. Prescription salves do not provide permanent regeneration and may need to be reapplied at later times if heroes suffer from additional injury in lane. Prescription salves should not be used past the mid-game. Ask your doctor about other healing options if the situation applies to you.
And then finally we get to our first entry in the song category. This definitely sparked, obviously we did the Rizrak track at the start of it all, but this was the first song DotP ever did. It was a spur of the moment thing. It was primarily ad-libbed by Roland. I heard him doing it. It was, I don't know why, it was fucking hilarious to us at the time. I started throwing in some like hype man stuff on some of the track or part of the track you'll hear. And it was just, I don't know, it still to this day is one of my favorites. And the shitty thing is we could never reuse it or put it back out there, because it was at a time when the runes in the river, it was at a time when like the rune, I can't remember how the runes spawned differently. It was back in like 6.8, pre 6.8, maybe 6.6 or something. But only one of the runes would spawn in the river at the start of the game, and you just kind of hoped that like you got there in time for it. It was right after the bounties had been introduced as well. It was at that time. Oh, I got it. It was at that time when the bounties would spawn on one of them, and then the real rune would spawn on the other. The song like perfectly encapsulated like the disappointment at arriving and not getting to get like a haste rune or a double damage rune, and instead finding nothing but a worthless bounty rune at the time. Anyway, I just one of my favorites, even though it's not as applicable to the current iteration of Dota. But I definitely wanted to share this one with you guys, and or remind you of it for those who'd been around since then.
Leaving the lane, gotta get in a position, then there's a room coming up. I hope it's a haze, I'd love to get the first blow. Instead it's a bounty with clowning. I wanna get the first blow. Guess I'm changing all my style now. Hope it's not what I think it is. Holy shit, it's an illusion rune. I guess I don't get the first blood. I wanna get the first blood.
And then that sparked more songs. In fact, I'd say the majority of intros that we did after that probably were musical. The vast majority of them, at the very least. It sparked this next one as well, which was all about the importance of getting those last hits. But even more so, it also birthed the beginning of our fictional band, which was Death Prophet and the Crystal Maidens. And you'll hear that first shout out in this one.
Hanging tight in the lane, tangles in our canes, you gotta maintain for the last hit.
Gotta try to get those last hits. You gotta try to get those, you gotta try. Get those, you gotta try. Get those. Death Prophet and the motherfucking Crystal Maidens.
You gotta be wary if you wanna bury, cause you know your hard carry needs those last
You
hits.
gotta try to get those last hits. You got to try to get those, got to try to get those last hits. You got to try to get those last hits.
So for a long time, this next one, which was all about Juggernaut, and was more or less ad-lib by me, at least for the story portions, after a very brief read-through of his character bio. This next one, for a long time, would be the one that everybody said that was their favorite. We got hit up about this one maybe more with I guess the Undying one, the Don't Come Walking Around My Tombstone, which is why we chose that particular one, and is not featured on this episode, because you can Google Don't Come Walking Around My Tombstone and find the music video, which is ample. You don't need to hear it here. But this was one that everybody hit us up. Other than Tombstone, I'd say this is the one that we would have people hit us up about the most. And was one that we for a long time were trying to get animated. We even hit up a few different animators to try to animate something to go along with it, but unfortunately it never really panned out. But it's goofy, and it's got a lot of vocal effects, and it's definitely one of the ones that I will forever remember doing.
You're Nero, the Juggernaut, a proud warrior of the Juggernaut tradition. Banished from his island home for defying his own leader. A move that would save his life.
I was told not to only slash everyone, but everyone was bait. I was told not to buy a battle fury, but I couldn't wait.
For Yunero's home would sink beneath the waves, and his banishment would ensure that he was the last of the Juggernaut tradition, battling alongside his allies to restore his honor and carry on the Juggernaut tradition.
To Omni Slash, I've been bouncing and bouncing and bouncing and bouncing around your ass. Omni Slash, Omni Slash, built on agility.
This is Yunero's tale, the tale of the last Juggernaut warrior.
Omni Slash,
Fighting with his allies, seeking new victories, and of course, the honor that should be bestowed upon a Juggernaut warrior.
This next one almost got me a little bit choked up listening to again. It's goofy. It's intended to be funny. It's maybe it feels solemn because it's played over Silent Night. And I realize this is the worst time possible. It's Halloween, and the last thing you want to hear is any sort of Christmas music, but this is just a poem. It was 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, but we Dotified it, or I Dotified it. And it was shortly after Wazoo had left the show the very first time. And he came back after being gone for 2 or 3 months and did the Christmas episode with us. And I mean, this was, I think it might have been Christmas Eve that we recorded this, or maybe the day before, in 2014. And man, it was a blast. I really loved that episode. That episode was one of it epitomized the fun that I had doing this show with Roland and Wazoo, with Josh and Andrew. Those were the times that I loved the absolute most. That episode was just, it was us just sitting around BSing, dreading, dealing with family and all that nonsense at Christmas. Some of the stress that comes with it. I know for some of you, for everybody, it's somewhat stressful, the holidays, but I think for us in particular, we've always had even more stressful dynamics than I feel like is probably normal with family. And so the three of us kind of being together that night before going to go deal with all that nonsense, it was just a great way to spend the night. It was a great time. And we had a ton of laughs. That episode maybe has one of my laugh out loud favorite moments. I'll forever remember and reference moving forward. So if you're looking to go check out an episode, check out the Christmas 2014 Wazoo for Christmas episode. It was a blast, and it was something I wanted to carry on and have be a tradition on the show moving forward. But we only wound up doing a few Christmas episodes. But yeah, I still want to play this one because it's I was pretty proud of at least the poem. I thought I did a really, really decent job with it, and more importantly, I think Wazoo did a great job with his enactment, his dramatic read, if you will, of the poem. So So without further ado, here this is from episode 40.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, save me and my mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care. Perhaps on US East I shall find a game there. My children were nestled all snug in their beds. My wife, too, fast asleep, and she sleeps like the dead. I can get one more game in if I act fast, so I settled my brain in for a long battle's clash. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, but with my noise-canceling headset, I knew nothing the matter. As Santa crawled in, I played mid as a sniper, wondering how I might fare vis this viper. As the threat of first blood quickly drew near, Santa left me be and unloaded his gear. He understood if I didn't get farm, this viper would rampage and do my team harm. A team of tower divers, my crew all died quick. Their play was too noobish for even Saint Nick. My temper boiled as their rage quickly came, and I began to shout at each team member by name. Now Faceless, now Lich, now Natures and Axe. We must all stop dying and watching our backs. To solo cross the river is truly a no-no, and be saving that chain frost for a faceless void chrono. As Santa finished unloading those toys, we all grouped up around the faceless void. The chrono he hit with impeccable timing, and the chain frost flew forth as our kill count went climbing. The natures pushed top, and the tower it fell. Old Saint Nick patted my back and wished the team well. As Santa climbed the chimney, our trusty old axe was quickly demolishing the opponent's mid-racks. Though a last-minute death brought a frown to my face, I knew we had won 'cause creeps flooded their base. So I rushed to the window to bid Santa farewell, knowing our megas would all give them hell. Santa sprang to his sleigh, to his team he gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as my team attacked the ancient, "Don't forget to download the new Defense of the Patients."
Merry Christmas.
Ho 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 ho. Ho 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 ho.
Okay, so this next one I swear is the last one. It's a song, so sorry for those who hate the songs. A lot of people out there hated songs; they preferred the other sketches. But this is a song, and it was one that was done in the midst of a really stressful run. So the way that Roland and I used to put these intros together is we recorded every Monday and Thursday, which is how the recording schedule was done for the vast majority of the time that we actually did intros. And as those of you who've been listening for a long time now know, intros are few and far between, or were few and far between for the last, maybe even couple of years. And that is because they were really, really tough to do consistently. The fact that we did them as long as we did was to me at least impressive. And honestly, it's something I missed. I do wish we'd kind of kept it up. It was so time consuming. But it was a great muscle to exercise, even whenever they weren't great. And as you've heard some of them here. They're not all. Maybe none of them are gems. But it was still a fun muscle to exercise in my brain, and one that I do wish we'd kept going with. But we would get together on a Sunday or a Wednesday to record for the following Monday and Thursday. And the show was always the easy part. The intro was what took forever. And so we probably spent half an hour to an hour brainstorming like what we could do for an intro. And then when we finally settled on an idea, we would start trying to write it or hammer it out if it was a sketch, or make sure we had the right music and solid lyrics if we came up with like a parody idea that rubbed us the right way. And then occasionally the worst would happen, and you would start with an idea and you'd get you'd have spent that half hour to an hour brainstorming, you'd get an hour and a half into doing it, and you'd realize like, oh, something about this isn't going to work, or the punchline's failing. And obviously some of our punchlines are awful to begin with. So for us to realize that the punchline is failing is even worse. So you can only imagine what some of those scrapped intros were like. And then we'd start right back into it, and we'd have to start completely over. And this was one of those days. It was super frustrating. We couldn't come up with anything. And I was telling, and Josh wanted to do a song, and he wanted to do a parody, and he'd been telling me forever that he could do, the Flaming Lips. He wanted to do Yoshimi, which he would later on end up doing, and I can't remember what episode, but I wanted him to do She Don't Use Jelly, because I had a humorous idea about, because I think I said to him, I was like, yeah, we don't use jokes or any of those. We use parodies. It's like, that's what we do that's what we use. Anyway, that just an off the cuff joke in that moment sparked the idea for like, okay, we actually could do this. And there are several punchlines just by the virtue of it being a parody throughout the song. The final punchline not deviating from the original song is maybe my favorite element of the joke throughout all of this. Anyway, I'll let you listen and try not to step on my own jokes any further. But this is the last one, and I'll come back for a wrap up.
I know a girl who spams a queue, but then she needs mana, she needs more blue. She don't use fountain or mana beads, don't use bottles or any of these. She uses clarities. I know a guy who does a show when in a rush and he needs intros. He don't use sketches or Cyphus jokes. He don't use old ones or any of those. He uses I know a guy who carries hard when he's wrecking and he's really farm. He don't use nothing you buy in a shop. He likes to wreck 'em and be on top. He uses Vaseline.
Well, those were a sampling of some of my favorite intros that we did. I'm glad I did that show with Easy, which is next up in your feed, or some of you may have heard that first or listened to it first and then come back and scoped this out. But yeah, they were a blast. There were some of the highlights of doing all of this, and mentioning them with Easy was something I hadn't even thought about as all of this was kind of coming to a close. And so I went through and just started listening to them and sampling them and remembering stories and good times. And I just wanted to share some of those and share some of the stories or memories that they brought up for me going back through them. This has been a blast. This has been a lot of fun. And I realize I'm saying goodbye kind of twice in a row here, but just just wanted to say thanks, and I'm glad I remembered. I'm really glad I remembered to go through these. It's been a blast. I don't know what else to say. I know I'm going to think of 100 things that I want to say or wish I would have said when all of this comes to a conclusion. But such is life, right? I'll be around. I'll be in the Discord. You guys can hit me up. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at @TheRealCyphus. That's CYPHUS. I'll keep you abreast of what I've got going on, coming up with Dota Cinema, and what I'll be doing on the side with additional podcasting projects in the future. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for being around. And I remember what I wanted to say. I'm glad you're still listening, dear listener. I know, I talked about what went into those and that we did all of that. And so when I say thank you guys in particular for a good time, I know we created those, but we created those because people kept coming back and they kept giving us feedback and laughing along with us and being part of the joke after it was all done. And as hard of a work as it was to do all of these, as I mentioned before, the She Don't Use Jelly parody, as hard as it was at times and as time consuming as it could be, it always felt worth it the next day when the episode aired and people hit us up and laughed, or people hit us up and said, "My God, what are you doing?" But laughed anyway. It was you guys. It was the community. It was the folks who sprung up around it. And if you want to hear the intros, any of the episodes in the old .p feed that are numbered, I can't remember where we stopped, but I want to say it was somewhere around 80 or 90 as when we finally stopped numbering them. Now I want to say there's about 600 or 700 episodes of Defense of the Patients that have aired over the last 3.5 years. So there's a ton of listening to be done. If you do want to go back and check it out, I think it'll all still be available through the Fourth Spirit RSS feed, even though it transitions over. I think you can go back and download all those original episodes and the first few. And if you want to hear some of the early intros, I mean, there were goofy things that I didn't even get to, or that honestly probably deserved to be on here just for the sake of the history that they kind of represent, Wazoo's PSAs as the various heroes, the various sketches we did that were so terrible they were cringy when I listened to them, but they were all of them funny. In that I have vivid memories of having a good time making those and getting the laughs from people who enjoyed the goofy cringiness that was all these intros. This is what .p was. This is what .p will forever be in my memory. Is all of these good times, all of these fun episodes, and working with the great people I've had the opportunity to work with along the way. So thank you guys once again. Be sure to tune in if you haven't listened to it yet. The final episode of Defense of the Patients is up, and it's featuring Easy Merkisi, who was around during the time of all of these intros and on some of these episodes, I'm sure, if you go back and take a listen. So thank you guys. And one last time. Oh, I'm going to be closing it out with what was definitely the best produced. And this one, definitely a big thank you to Tom, the sound engineer. The Juice, as you guys know him in the Discord community. He definitely helped us make this as beautiful as it was. And this was The Boys in the Pub. It was fun writing all of these parodies. It was fun producing all of these things. And thank you, Tom, for helping clean this one up and make it arguably the best produced, best quality parody we ever did. All right, guys. This is Cyphus signing off. Until next time. Well, for the last time. Good luck and Godspeed.
Woke up quick at about noon. Just thought that I had to get a solo game soon. I gotta get cute before the day begins, before my girl starts bitching about my trends. About to start and damn near went blind. Young pubba's in the game showing GG signs. Went to the pick and grabbed the spec with my quell blade on the side of my hip. Game loads up and I get to Spectrum. Just as I thought, the fools kept stepping. Jumped in the lane, hit the creep, denies. Creep kills front, back, and side to side. Then I make the sick haunt plays. I was bumping new shit with my Desolate. Was ganker at the top of the list. Then I did my own shit, it went something like this. Hitting 10 minutes CS6 foe. Juking the bitches, slapping my foes. On to the top for a chaos. Knuckleheads up there, totally useless. TP shows up, who can it be? A fresh mid-laner, it's a Fed OD. He drops down his hammer and all chats to say GG, easy, check out this play. Cause the boys in the pubs are all blowhards. Talking lots of trash, we're emotionally scarred. Knowing nothing in life, but we all talk shit. Don't flame me, boy, I'll just rage quit. Bored as hell and I wanna get killed, so I TP to a lane where my homeboy chills. Fella up there trying to make that dollar. I TP up like the team shot caller. Leaves me with a tri-lane and I start thinking, this noob fed the lane, his play been stinking. Gotta get my buddy to roll in a party. After I lose, this game is so gnarly. Send an invite, get him into the stack. Dumb Cyphus says something that makes me mad. He said something that I couldn't believe, so I queue up for the game, threatened the techies. He started talking shit, wouldn't you know? So I get into the game and first lock a rando, and then he hopped on the mic and he started to shout. So I opened Discord and muted him straight out. Cause the boys in the pubs are all blowhards. Talking lots of trash, we're emotionally scarred. Knowing nothing in life, but we all talk shit. Don't flame me, boy, I'll just rage quit.
Cyphus tripping, but it's alright. First picking techies, he's gonna cry. Scrub Lord cry.